Let's call our Human Resources Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll, please?
Mr. Welper?
Here.
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Lind?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt?
Here. Motion to approve the agenda is proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the agenda. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. We have two requests today from our Community Development Director. I think we can probably take them both at once if somebody would like to take them both.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr.
I'd like
Morrissey.
to make a motion to approve the following request from Community Development Director to initiate the civil service process to fill the rehabilitation assistant position and make an appointment, and the request from the Community Development Director to initiate the civil service process to fill the neighborhood services coordinator position and make an appointment. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on both requests. If there are any discussion, Rudy is here.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
I have a question. On 922, the civil service people approved job descriptions and testing criteria for these two positions.
Okay.
So it looks like, to me, like we started the civil service process last month. Kind of odd. Are we doing something not quite kosher here?
Can someone answer that?
Do we forget to get it on the agenda, or are we trying to make up for lost time here?
We would like to, if at all possible. The rehab assistant position was one that was previously filled a few years back, and at the end of a previous lead grant, we tried to keep the position open with the hopes of maybe receiving the grant again. This year, we did not include the position as a part of our staffing, but fortunately, we got funded for it, so we're just adding that back in. That's going to be grant funded.
But I'm saying we started the process 922.
Well,
And
part of
now-
that was due to the fact that we needed to show HUD that we're preparing to hire that position as a part of our grant application.
Okay.
The neighborhood service one was where the person that had filled it permanently took disability. So, and I think we got messed up with some of the staffing that was going on in HR.
On the grant position, are we going to hire that knowing it's the grant when the grant's over, that position goes away?
We think, or we have historically been able to fill it with existing funds because of the funds just being there.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. So Rudy, the money for that first position, is that money that can be only used for a job? It can't be used for other things like
The first
rehab
position,
and
which one is
housing
that?
or, pardon me?
Yeah,
That would be the
Rehabilitation assistant.
rehabilitation
we're
assistant.
going to fund that 80% out of the grant and the other 20% out of CDBG and home funds as the activities call for it. But he'll be working extensively on lead grant projects.
But I'm saying if we didn't fill that position, if we would take the money we got in the grant, could we use that for something else like physically rehabilitating houses, or can it only be used for a job?
It can only be used for lead grant activities.
Okay. And then on the second position, that's a position that I think's been open for a year and a half, roughly.
Perry was on temporary disability, so it was filled, it just was not fulfilling the role. And I think as of the beginning of January, we took a part-time position to get some of those activities back up and running.
And so in the meantime, we hired a part-time person
Yeah.
also. So will that position go away once this position gets filled, or what are you envisioning
Part-time
there?
position, yes,
Okay. And all this money comes from the feds, it's not,
that's correct.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we do a roll call, please, on 1 and 2.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes. Okay, those two requests pass.
Motion adjourned.
Motion and second on adjournment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Here.
Mr. Welper?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes from September 25th, 2017 as proposed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the agenda minutes. Any questions, or discussion on either of those items?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Travel requests, we have 3 today.
Mr. Chairman, I'll take those. Todd Enrich, building maintenance to attend a class, National Electrical Code, destination Cedar Falls, date November 16th through the 17th, amount not to exceed $597. Joel Shepherd, building maintenance, attend a class, National Electrical Code, destination Cedar Falls, same dates, November 16th through the 17th, amount not to exceed $597. Todd Deerfield, forester for authorization to sell logs from 325 trees which were removed due to the emerald ash borer infestation and recent storms, and use that revenue to replace trees.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the 3 travel requests. Any questions or discussion on any of those? I just had one. Paul, we can't sell those logs out of the state of Iowa yet, can we?
Paul Hudding, Leisure Services. I believe not, unless you were to go to another infested state, and there are several in the Midwest, but I think these are all Iowa log buyers who will bid on it.
I see. All right, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That those motions pass. Pre-auths.
Mr. Chairman, pre-authorizations to expend over $1,000. Building maintenance, $11,560 to replace 2 furnaces and 2 air conditioners for the east side of the basement of the Hazmat Regional Training Center. Building maintenance, $1,545 for the clean of carpets and building inspections, building inspector's office, engineering, and planning departments. City Clerk's Office, $32,150.82 for membership dues with Iowa Northland Regional Council of Governments for fiscal year 2018. Fire Department, $15,125.48. Lighting package, sirens, spotlights, wiring, shoreline, custom tray, and arrow stick for new command vehicle. Fire Department, $1,485. Test for entry-level firefighters. Leisure Services, $3,400 to raise the post indicator valve at Boathouse. Mayor Quentin Hart, $5,269. Membership fees for U.S. Conference of Mayors. Sewer Department, $3,408 plus $300 shipping and handling for replacement mag flow meter for number 4 Easton RAS pump. Sewer Department, $3,922.59 plus $100 shipping and handling for 4 Kenwood handheld radios, 5 radio headsets, and the programming of those radios. Sewer Department, $1,225 for a Hawk DR900 colorimeter. Street Department, not to exceed $4,000 plus $250 shipping and handling for copper tubing, adapters, swivel ring loop hangers, shutoff valves. Street Department, $6,665 for 1 10,000-gallon vertical white tank for the salt brine mix. And Street Department, $1,540 for insulation for plumbing pipe with 1-inch thick fiberglass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on all the pre-auths. Any questions on any of those items? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those are approved. We have 2 budget line item amendments that are on file at the city clerk's office, and also the bills payment this week. $2,329,896.73. It's 2,329,896.73.
Second.
Motion a second on the bills payment. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The bills are paid.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion a second on adjournment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's City Council meeting. I hope you can hear me. Madam Clerk, can you please read the roll?
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Morrissey?
Here.
Mr. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Lind?
Here.
Mr. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Welper?
All right, we have a full council this evening. Right now, we have our moment of silence, and I want to just ask a special request for the city of Las Vegas and all that they're going through this evening. So please join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. This evening's pledge will be led by Paul Hudding.
Please join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as proposed and also the minutes of September 25th, 2017 regular session as proposed.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an agenda in minutes. First up, we have some proclamations. So I would call Sherm Lundy of Basic Material Corps and some UNI students. So come on up. Good evening, good evening. How are you? Good, good. All right, come on over. Come on over. I want a side or both or. All right. So I'd like to do a City of Waterloo proclamation. Whereas geology and other earth sciences are fundamental to society, and whereas the earth sciences are integral to understanding the nature and character of our watersheds, and whereas the earth sciences are crucial for developing and implementing the best management practice for our watersheds, and whereas the earth sciences encourage the application of technology to locate, use, and conserve our resources within a watershed, and whereas we all live in a watershed that requires the efforts of governments, citizens, and professionals at all levels to best manage our resources. And whereas the earth sciences provide us with information, skills, and knowledge to generate effective strategies for managing our watersheds for the future. Now, therefore, I, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim the second week of October as Earth Sciences Week. So, special time of the year. Shalani, why don't you tell us about it?
Thank you. I'd like to introduce a very special guest. This is Tyler Dursky from the University of Northern Iowa Earth Science Department.
Thank you, Sherm. So, hello everyone. My name is Tyler Dursky. I'm a senior majoring in Earth and Environmental Sciences at the University of Northern Iowa. My involvement at the university includes research on the Dry Run Creek watershed and membership in PEER, which is the Panther Initiative for Environmental Equity and Resilience, and the Earth Science Honor Society. Today I'd like to share with you 4 main points of why earth science matters in this community and all communities. Firstly, everyone lives in a watershed. A watershed is an area of land that separates water flowing through streams, river basins, and oceans. Waterloo lies in the Cedar River watershed, as we all know all too well. The amount of water present in an environment largely dictates what type of environment exists. Having too much or too little water at one time can cause problems, which this community knows in the recent future or past. Recognizing our place within our own watershed is important for our health, our well-being, and our safety. Secondly, if it's not grown, it's mined. Agriculture is a big deal in Iowa, but so is mining. Materials mined in Iowa provide us with the aggregate that builds our roads, the calcite that fertilizes our fields, and the gypsum that lies within the walls that build our homes. Understanding what lies below the surface is just as important as the surface that we stand on. Thirdly, understanding the earth helps us understand its hazards. This year alone, fires, hurricanes, floods, mud flows, and earthquakes have heavily impacted our community, our country, and our continent. Recognizing the dynamic processes that interact between the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the lithosphere influence our ability to respond and recover from these disasters, and while saving human life in the process. Finally, the earth powers our lives. Energy generated by coal, fossil fuels, the sun, water, and wind fuels our modern lifestyles. Without these resources, how we would go about continuing our daily lives would drastically change. Locating them and understanding how they work and considering their effects lie at the heart of the study of earth science. Again, my 4 main points for everyone lives in a watershed. If it's not grown, it's mined. Understanding the earth helps us understand its hazards, and the earth powers our lives. Having an appreciation for the earth sciences is important for this community as well as all communities. Thank you.
And finally, we appreciate your support of Earth Science Week. The proclamation signifies the importance of the earth sciences to all citizens, both in understanding the issues and recognizing the implementation of the practices necessary to conserve and enhance all of our resources. This year's theme, Everyone Lives in a Watershed, is indicative of the need to focus on our watersheds, planning, managing, and correlating natural processes with community development. We'll look forward to seeing everyone at Sunday at the Quarry program at Morgan Quarry this coming Sunday, October the 8th, where you'll have an opportunity to visit with many organizations who will present information and practices as well as some fun activities for everyone. Mr. Mayor, thank you and the council so very much for your support.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Goes without saying, you protect our planet and respect our planet will respect us. So thank you so much for your education and for your advocacy as well. I'd like to call up next Leslie Cohn. All right, come on up, Les. And this will be a proclamation on Mental Illness Awareness Week. So welcome. How are you today? All right, whereas mental health is part of overall health, and whereas 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness in a given year, and approximately half of chronic mental illness begins by age 14 and 3/4 by age 24. And whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, the 2nd leading cause among young adults, and 90% of the persons who die by suicide have an underlying mental illness. And whereas long delays, sometimes decades, often occur between the time symptoms first appear and when individuals get help. And whereas early identification and treatment can make a difference in successful management of mental illness and recovery. And whereas it is important to maintain mental health and learn the symptoms of mental illness in order to get help when it is needed. And whereas every citizen and community can make a difference in helping and in the silence and stigma that for too long has surrounded mental illness and discouraged people from getting help. And whereas public education and civic activities can encourage mental health and help improve the lives of individuals and families affected by mental illness. Now, therefore, I, Quentin Hart, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, do hereby proclaim October 1st through the 7th, 2017, as Mental Illness Awareness Week. So, Lindsay, could you please tell us about what's taking place during this week?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mayor Hart, and thank you to the City Council. Appreciate it. Basically, we are having a special program on Thursday, October 5th. We will be having a speaker who is going to be talking about trauma and its relationship to mental health and mental illness. And that will be at the First Congregational Church in Waterloo at 608 West 4th Street at 7 o'clock. Again, this Thursday, October 5th. And briefly, NAMI offers advocacy, education, and mutual support for people who have mental illness, their families, partners, and friends. The main ways we do this all year round is through our free classes, support groups, and educational programs. And if anyone's watching or listening, we are housed in donated space at Allen Hospital, so I always want to thank them as a great community partner. And our phone number is 235-5263. Yes, like an ad, right? Once more, that number is 235-5263.
And Leslie, I just want to thank you so much for your advocacy. Mental illness is in some communities like a forbidden thing to talk about. And, folks have had challenges and struggles, but there's help out there for people, and we need to take advantage. So this is a great week, so we wish you much success, and thank you so much for all you do. Thank you. All right. All right, and we have one more, and I'd like to call up Kent Sovereign. Kent has a presentation to make, State Director for AARP of Iowa, and has a special recognition for our Human Rights and Police Department, so we're all ears.
Thank you, Mayor Hart. So good to see you again. Mayor, members of the City Council. Kent Sovereign, I'm the State Director of AARP in Iowa, and if you think AARP and you don't think livable communities, then you don't know ARP. And each year, for the last couple of years, my boss's boss actually, sends out a note to all of our state directors around the country and says, hey, what's happening in your local communities? And I usually send about 20 suggestions. And this year, the city of Waterloo and your Reaching for Respect project was included in our annual publication that includes 100+ ideas around livable communities. It's called Where We Live, Communities for All Ages. Mayor Hart, your efforts, along with the police chief and the Department of Human Rights, have raised, if you will, the profile of Waterloo and its engagement in the community. And I'm so proud to present each of you with a couple of copies of the book, members of the council, also with an invitation that this begins a conversation we can have with AARP volunteers and others around the state to perhaps think about the city of Waterloo engaging in our network of age-friendly communities that are all across the United States, 188 communities and counting. Greater Des Moines was the third city engaged in this network, and it's the only one in Iowa. And I would like to see Waterloo and Cedar Falls and Dubuque and Cedar Rapids and Iowa City and Ames and so many of the other commercial centers included. Again, my congratulations. This elevates the prestige of Waterloo, the work of the police department, the work of the Human Rights Commission, the work of the mayor and city council. And I'm so proud to be here tonight with you.
All right, so before we leave, so Kent, Donna Harvey, we have been having conversations about being an age-friendly community, and I've had the fortunate opportunity to serve on our aging Department of Aging board as well on the state. So thank you for your advocacy, your support. But I'd like Abraham or the mayor or any one of you to talk about the Reaching for Respect so people can understand exactly what was taking place or sharing.
Sure. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, we want to thank Mr. Sarvin for this opportunity. We're certainly grateful to be involved in such an exercise. I just wanted to take the opportunity that whenever we can collaborate, we do so. And so we did so in this particular case with Sharon Silva, who I'd like to give a few words to share. And then, of course, I want to recognize our commissioners out there today. Our chair, Eric, is out there, Eric Dunat, as well as Commissioner Teresa Culpepper.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here. I would like to say that this was absolutely a joint effort. It was a magical team, and if I could also mention the Sheriff's Department, the State Patrol were also involved, and also 2 police departments, both Waterloo and Cedar Falls. I should also mention the names of some other that were part of that team. I would like to mention Dr. Gloria Kirkland Holmes and also Lori Dale, because the group of us met a number of times to make that happen. I too would like to see that spread across Iowa. So thank you for your recognition. We're very pleased.
And Abraham said collaboration is that's exactly what had taken place. Tough conversations. We didn't always hear what we wanted to hear, but we had an opportunity to talk to one another within the community. So excellent job, and we'll be waiting for Reaching for Respect 3.0. So thank you, all of you, I salute all of you, and thank you so much for your advocacy and your leadership. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. All right, so those are part of the proclamations and special presentations. Before we move into public comment, I hate to make a shift the excitement that we have here this evening. But last week during our council meeting, it took me a while, and I had to go back and watch the videotape of the council meeting. And I just want to get something perfectly clear. Disagreement is okay without being disagreeable, but the next person, or if any person, comes before this council with children, businesses, citizens watching this, and make any derogatory comments regarding sexual things of nature, you will not be allowed to address this city council for a period of time. And I'm serious about that. That was a low. Wasn't called for. And I've received multiple calls from people that have watched that council meeting last week. So I'm asking you, for dignity and respect, no connotations to sexual things of nature, no matter lighthearted or not. Do not bring that to the city council anymore. Now, oral presentation. So if you would please come up and address the city council, let us know what's on your thoughts and on your mind tonight. State your name and number, name and address for the record.
Jim Chapman, 224 Birch. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but after reading the paper the other night under the comments in the Courier about the back row boys always getting up here saying negative things, I guess if asking questions, caring about our city, our taxes, our growth and all that is negative, I guess I'm guilty as much as the rest of them are. And thankful that I live in a country that I can get up here and talk, and I respect our Constitution, our flag, and thank God I don't live in North Korea because I wouldn't be up here talking to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council this evening?
My name is Thomas Lown, 5530 Sierra Drive with Tallship Harbor LLC Development. I'm the president and director. And I'd like to say, as you prepare to vote on the leasing at Brinker Lake, I ask that you consider a potential $75 million development that could put Cedar Valley as a special attraction on the map, like the local water park, like the museum in Dubuque, like McCovey Cove and Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. This may have a positive effect even on the water table issue that I read about in the paper. The plan has been received favorably by Intercog, Steve Dust, a prominent local developer, the Brinker family, Basic Materials Corp., Darren Beck, 2 former mayors, and 30 others. I can share more about this plan to anyone interested. Any questions?
Yeah, that's not on today. I didn't see that. Paul, you, the Brinker Lake?
That's what I read in the paper.
Noel, are you familiar? Tim, could you come?
It's there.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was supposed to stop you, and then once that item comes up on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
but we can take those comments of support, and we can add those for the record when it comes up. So,
okay.
Tell me your name, Thomas
Lown, L-O-W-N.
Okay.
It's like clown without the C.
All right, we will add those to those comments. Sorry about that.
Thanks,
sir.
Mayor.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to?
David Dryer, 3145 West 4th Street. I've asked this question before, and I still have not seen anything published in the paper about when is the next meeting for the University Avenue plans or the public meetings that were supposed to happen? Or is the design already done and we don't get any input?
All right, is that your only question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Where's Eric at? University Avenue.
Eric Thorson, City Engineer. The next meeting is October 17th at 5:30 at the Center for the Arts, and I think the news release just went out late Friday, if I remember correctly. So it's just now gotten out.
All right, thank you.
Okay, October 17th, 5:30 at the Center for the Arts.
Correct.
Thank you.
And,
The Schoitz Room at the Center for the Arts, the Schoitz Room.
I actually have a copy of that press release. If I can give it to you after we.
Okay, I didn't see anything in the paper today, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, all right. All right, is there anyone else that would like to address the council? All right, then it is mayor and council monthly reports. Is there any person on council that would like to talk about what's going on in your worlds?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yes, relative to Ward 3, I last week just finished 45th Ward meeting, pretty lively discussion. Around 20 people were there to discuss different issues that they had. One of the issues was just brought up by Mr. Dryer, and that had to do with University Avenue. And the feeling by the people in the room basically was that we really haven't had much public input, and they want to see any final design held off until there is more there are more meetings so that the public can have more input on that. Another discussion point was the park-to-park bike lanes and the need for more delineators or delineation, especially at the beginning of either side of the lane as you're driving down and where the parking lanes are. Another discussion and focused on the Greenbrier situation on the water table out there. And last week, I was involved with a meeting with a couple of the residents out there, as well as Mr. Lundy was there, and people from the staff here in Waterloo. And one of the issue at that time was something that's on the agenda, so I'm not going to get into that, but the event that's coming up this coming Sunday at the Morgan Quarry is something that I would hope that the Greenbrier residents would participate in as many as possible. And I'm aware that from what Sherman Lundy had told us, that there's different people that are going to be there that can discuss the issue specifically at Greenbrier, because that is something that Sherman Lundy had brought to the people putting on this event at the Morgan Quarry. And it includes different kinds of ways to seek solutions, including studies that need to get started out there to deal with the issues and look at some different ways to resolve their water problems out there. And one of the things that was mentioned by Mr. Lundy was that people even can bring in water samples for testing. I just wanted to add that. So I would hope that people, especially Greenbrier, would make it to that meeting, and other people would get out there as well, not only for the fact of their issue, but as Earth Science, part of East Science Week. The other thing is that there was a mention about quiet zones again, and you know, these are quality of life issues, the water table issue and the quiet zone issue, and I note that Sioux City had just voted to $100,000 to establish more quiet zone out in their community. They've already started on that. Another thing I just want to mention is that downtown Waterloo is added, I just found out, Red Lion is going there at the old Ramada, and we got a new restaurant down there, Chibo de Strada, which means food of the streets. And finally, I'd like to complete a statement that I started at the end of last meeting, and that is that I'd like to thank Sandy Greco and the council for approving the application for a grant for the Iowa Clean Air Attainment for the Broadway Corridor fiber optics. So with that, that's the end, Mr. Mayor, and you didn't cut me off. Thank you.
This was the appropriate time, dear councilman. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to say that I had the opportunity and the pleasure to speak at the going away ceremony for our Guard. There was probably 300 and some soldiers that left for the Mideast. Well, they're going to Texas for some more training and then going to the Mideast. And it was a true honor to be able to hang out with veterans and soldiers that are departing and their families. And I just wanted to recognize them, keep them in our thoughts and prayers as a community.
All right. Anyone else? Just real quickly, on Wednesday at the Center for Arts, 4:15 to 5:30, the governor will be here to talk about minority unemployment and trying to bring businesses together to help decrease our overall unemployment rates within our communities as well. If you take a look, we had some extra ones, so I wanted to make sure that folks had a copy of our economic development brochure. It can also be found on the city website, but it just lists quarterly some of the different projects that are taking place within our community as well. So that's your information to keep also.
I'd like to make a motion, receive and file oral comments.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda. That's items 1A through B3, and within that are the bills payment this week. Bills payment are $2,329,896.73, 2,329,896.73.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I just wanted to make sure of was in the resolution for the agreement, the project addendum number 3, A3, it talks about lots 12 and 13 in Block 1 of Manson's. That each one of those lots is going to have a home on them. Is that correct?
Yes,
Probably
sir.
in time.
But I mean, that's the plan.
That's the goal.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
All right, those items carry. Number 2, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Schmidt.
I'd like to make a motion, receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that's for the vacate, sell, and convey a portion of Marigold Drive to Marcus Pratt for $1, and a portion of Marigold Drive to the Bosnian Islamic Association of Waterloo for $770. Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, were there any comments on file?
There are no comments on file.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this particular item on the agenda? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion then to close the hearing.
Second.
A motion has been made.
What happened to the close the hearing?
We close the hearing.
Did we miss that?
All right. Motion has been made to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry to interrupt you.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to receive, file, and consider and pass for the first time an ordinance approving a request by Marcus Pratt and the Bosnian Islamic Association of Waterloo to vacate a 60-foot by 197-foot portion of Marigold Drive located to the south of its intersection with Afton Drive, with the retention of a utility easement over, under, and across the property in question.
Second.
All right, motion's been made with the second. Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Schmidt. Does anyone have any comments about this item?
No, could we just have a little overview on this? What's going on there for the audience?
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. So this is a portion of street that is no longer necessary for current city or future city purposes. So we are vacating this. They both meet the sale of property policy, even though one is for $1, one is for $770. The reason for that is the person buying it for $1 built a new house, so that'll be paying property taxes. The other one will be an exempt location, being a cemetery, so they're not paying any taxes, so they had to pay the determined value price per square foot, which was determined to be $770.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
That item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
That item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to consider and pass for the second and third times and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Item carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution authorizing the sale and conveyance of the northeasterly portion of a portion of Marigold Drive to Marcus Pratt for $1 and the southwesterly portion of a portion of Marigold Drive to the Bosnian Islamic Association of Waterloo for $770, and direct the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
All right, item carries. Number 3, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Lind.
I move to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, which is a lease agreement with BMC Aggregates LC for property located south of 2465 Wagner Road for extraction of sand and gravel with 3% royalty payments of materials sold with a minimum annual payment of $5,000 for term ending December 31st, 2028.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The hearing is now open. I would like to acknowledge Mr. Thomas Lown speaking in support of this project and how this can be one of the finest attractions that we have in the Cedar Valley and statewide. Did I characterize that correct? All right, so we acknowledge the gentleman's comments. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this item on the agenda? Going a second time.
Mr. Mayor, move to close the hearing.
Can we receive his comments? Is that possible? Yeah, receive his comments. Sorry about that.
From previous, and receive
Mr. Long.
and file oral comments.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, hearing is closed.
Mr. Mayor, move to adopt a resolution approving lease agreement with BMC Aggregates LC for property located south of 2465 Wagner Road for extraction of sand and gravel with 3% royalty payments of materials sold with a minimum annual payment of $5,000 for a term ending December 31st, 2028, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second. A motion has been made with the second. Do we need a update? Are we clear on this? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Someone take 4, 5, and 6, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion adopting a resolution approving submission of an African-American Civil Rights History Grant application for the National Park Service in the amount of $50,000 to survey and complete a National Register application for the Smoky Road Triangle area of Waterloo, $30,000 to install historical markers on the sites of significance in Waterloo civil rights, and $7,500 for publication of informational brochures for the sites and the area. Number 5 is a resolution approving the contract of Crystal Distribution Services, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, and the Iowa Economic Development Authority for High-Quality Jobs Program tax credit component incentives, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. Number 6 is a resolution approving award of bid to Peterson Contracting Incorporated, parentheses PCI, of Rhinebeck, Iowa, in the amount of $787,364.75, and approving the contracts, bonds, and the certificate of insurance for the fiscal year 2018 Waterloo Boathouse Enhancements, contract number 940, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Council questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
I
Land?
have a question on number 4 for Noel, maybe. I've come to the understanding that maybe we're not applying, we're doing the wrong grant. We should be doing it for the Walnut neighborhood. And then the Smoky Road Triangle would be kind of a phase 2. That would, as I understand it, they may put us ahead of the curve on developing that area. Because doesn't JSA need the survey to get their project going? They don't have any of their stuff in that triangle area. I'm confused.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. So you may recall, we actually have a historical survey for the Walnut area underway right now that we approved, I think, approximately a month and a half ago. As a part of that development agreement, that was one of the actions that we took. This is another opportunity for us to go for some grant applications. We've given the designation of Smoky Road Triangle area as a general area. Obviously, they're next to each other, next to the Walnut area, so there could be some correspondence back and forth between the two areas. But we actually have one that's proceeding now for the JSA project development agreement. This is another opportunity for us to look at some historical markers, some historical documentation on the Waterloo area.
Okay, so we can, then I've been misinformed. So we can tie these together?
We can definitely look at that as we'll go through an RFP process if we're awarded the grant, and they'll put together the more detailed pieces of exactly what would move ahead as qualifying and what would move ahead as non-qualifying as they work that out.
Okay, the grant is for $50,000. The 30 and the 7,500 are part of the 50 grand. It's kind of confusing the way it reads there.
Yeah, so we're asking for a total of 87,500.
Oh, okay. Is there a match?
And we have a local match. I think it's 5,600. We believe we can meet that through in-kind or some other funding sources as well as we look at it.
And is that compatible? Is that comparable to the one we get for Walnut neighborhood?
The Walnut one, we did not get a grant for that. We just went ahead with the historical survey, just out of city funds. There wasn't any grants available for that one at the time of moving ahead with it.
Okay. Well, I just think, based on conversations with people, that it's probably important that we try to take a survey of that whole area and maybe get some historical markers. And
we're definitely, that's definitely one of the things we'll be looking at as part of this, kind of the prairie pathways you see along the trail system, something similar to that, or maybe it'll be something different to delineate it, but sure, we're trying to look at it as a comprehensive approach.
Because didn't we do the MLK Trail? Didn't we change the name of that to try to combine
We designate that as specifically changing the name to that to try and help make that more eligible for potential grants in the future
And
as well.
tie this together, then we get across the river on Park and,
Correct.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So Noel, did you say there's already a grant applied for the Walnut? Or there's not a grant?
Not a grant, a historical study is underway.
We have the study, but why not have a grant for the Walnut Street neighborhood first, get that knocked out, and then we can move on to the next section?
Before this grant was available, we moved ahead with the historic survey of the Walnut neighborhood area based on the development agreement with JSA. Since that one's already started, it wouldn't be eligible for the grant now. But again, this grant could cover some areas. There could be some shared areas between the historical survey of that one and the specifics of this grant application as well.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Noel, $50,000 is for the survey itself. Is that correct? And then there's 30,000 that's being looked at with this application for installation, if I read this correctly. And my understanding with the money that was earmarked for Walnut was that amount was 50,000 as well, was it not, Noel?
The Walnut Historic Survey, I believe that was closer to about 23,000 or 21,000.
Okay, so now that's not my recollection, but I'm just wondering, because the amount of houses that are in Smoky Row and Triangle, I mean, just is several times bigger than the houses that are in Walnut. And are you allowing enough money in here in your grant request to cover the amount of housing, residential property in that has to be surveyed? Is my question.
Yes, and we believe so. Talking with some historical consultants, we tried to estimate that basically, like you're saying, that based on the amount of area, the amount of structures in that area or potential historic sites, the amount of time that'll take. Obviously, it's always a bit of a estimate when they really get into the details of bidding it out and what it'll really take, but we believe we have some good numbers to work with.
And would that also include the culturally significant aspect of that? Not just the structures, but that second aspect of it, where there's going to be a evaluation of the historical significance?
Definitely. All historic studies basically look at the historical aspect and the architectural aspect. So there's always kind of the two main criteria with any kind of a historic study that you're working on. And it'll look at, like you're saying, exactly the structures and then the uses or activities or events that happen in those areas of historical significance.
Okay, thanks, Noel.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Noel, the 50,000, the National Park Service isn't doing it. They give us 50. We get a grant for 50. We go out and hire a consultant to do the survey, right?
Correct. There'd be a request for proposal process,
Okay.
similar to a bidding process, but since it's a specialized type of technical activity, it's more of a consultant selection service process.
Okay.
Any other
And I
questions?
did misspeak. The maximum we're going for is the 50,000, and there's a breakdown of that. They have 4.2 million available, and 50,000 is the maximum. So that is a breakdown. I apologize.
But that goes to his question. You got 30,000 here and then 7,500. Where's the 12.5 at?
That would go toward, I mean, it's all going to blend into the overall thing. Obviously, if you don't have enough funds for one, you'd phase in the markers or you'd phase in different portions of it as it comes down to the details.
Any other questions? 4, 5, 6?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
With number 5, I tried looking for what this amounted to as far as wage structure. What are the wages when they talk about high-quality jobs program? What are those, Noel? Do you have those?
Under that program?
Yes, yes.
There's a determined amount by the state of Iowa, and I'm looking for it right now, as it changes quarterly. I'll have to get that information to you. I don't see the actual amount in here. It does go into the eligibility requirements of the qualifying wage threshold and the incentives and the
Yeah, I didn't see it.
other information, benefits and all that, but I'll have to get you the number.
Yeah, I didn't see it listed at all in the documents that were attached.
Okay. So he'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
All right, those items carry. 7, 8, and 9.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Morrissey.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution approving a repair and assessment agreement with Chris Olson, DK Management, to add sidewalk repairs at 1013 West 3rd to the fiscal year 2018 Sidewalk Repair Assessment Program, Zone 7, Contract 931, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. And number 8, a resolution approving change order number 1 for a net increase of $7,000 for the fiscal year 2017 levee tree clearing, Cedar River Northeast, contract number 908, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. And a resolution approving completion of project and recommendation of acceptance of work performed by Twin City Tree Service LLC of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $241,001.58 for the fiscal year 2017 levee tree clearing, Cedar River Northeast, contract number 908.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Eric, just a quick conversation about the $7,000 net increase.
Eric Larson, City Engineer. We're currently being required by the Corps to clear trees along our levee system within 15 feet of the toe of the levee on the dry side and some on the wet side. This is another contract that we're wrapping up that's been going on for a little while. And we had an area there behind the ballpark along the tracks where we took the trees out to the core limit, but then it left 5 or 6 trees just sort of stranded there by themselves. It didn't look very good, so we actually had the contractor take those down too. It makes it easier to maintain that area.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, council? Anyone? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
All right, that item carries. 10, 11, and 12, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt.
Item number 10 is adopting a resolution approving a professional services agreement with Wayne Clausen Engineering and Survey, Inc. of Waterloo, Iowa, in an amount not to exceed $53,000 for engineering services related to the Brock 3rd Edition preliminary plat, final plat, and sanitary sewer extension, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said documents. Item number 11 is adopting a resolution approving supplemental agreement number 1 with AECom in the amount of $2,400 in conjunction with the bus stop locations ADA design, Phase 1, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said agreement. And item number 12 is adopting a resolution approving the temporary construction easement agreement with Hy-Vee, Inc. for property located at 4,000 University Avenue in relation to the fiscal year 2017 street reconstruction program, contract number 921, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
The motion has been made with the second. Questions? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
All right, item carries. Number 13, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to receive, file, consider, and pass for the first time an ordinance amending the 2008 traffic code by rescinding section 543 through streets and deleting in its entirety subsection 6 Amesboro Avenue and inserting a new subsection 6 Amesboro Avenue.
Second.
Take these. All right, motion's been made with the second. Sandy?
Sandy Greco, Interim Public Works Director. Excuse me. This is taking Amesboro, which is a through street, and changing it. The only thing we're inserting is There's like 15 signalized intersections on Eansboro, which is already listed in the code. But we're putting in a four-way stop, which is the next ordinance change. So we have to list that on Amesboro Avenue. So basically, that's all it is inserting the four-way stop.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we'll wait then. We'll wait. Should we? We'll wait then. Yes, sir. Mr. Delaveau.
Would this be the appropriate time to speak of the four-way intersection, since it appears like you're starting action already, or should I wait for the next?
Go ahead and ask it or wait. We can ask it now.
Okay. Excuse me, would you pass these out to the mayor and council, please? Thank you. I have some questions about what was and wasn't done out there on Amesboro.
Oh, name and address. Name and address, good sir.
Oh, Forrest Dillaboo, 1725 Huntington Road. I forgot you didn't know who I was.
Well, those out there looking may not.
Okay, I understand. How many cars go through this intersection a day? I think that's something we should know before we make a decision on stopping all of them. How many cars go across from Amesboro, north and south, and how many go from Shawless, east and west? And since we are protecting probably mostly the pedestrians, how many pedestrians per day go through this intersection? And then as we talk about making cars stop, how much extra fuel will be used with these cars all stopping from all directions? And then we talk about the added pollution when a car stops and sits there and idles for a minute and then goes away. As we know from an incident downtown where someone went through a stop sign and hit and killed a small child, there's no guarantee that those cars will stop. So to allow people to go across it's not a guarantee. I don't ever want to see another tragedy like either of those in Waterloo. And I think we should do whatever we can. I taught my kids, my grandkids, and I hope to teach my great-grandkids to stop, look, and listen before going across a road. Had all of these been done, probably this tragedy would not have occurred. And it's just, to me, it's moving too fast. I had two kids, when they were teenagers, get hit and injured in the Amesboro intersection. Downing and Amesboro. And as of today, that intersection is still one of the most dangerous in Waterloo. And we are working on it, but it's years later. Those kids that were 15 and 16 years old are now 40 years old. And, you know, it's taken that many years. I think we're moving quite fast. I think to stop the pedestrians would be the most practical thing. Do the stop, look, and listen. Thank you for listening to me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Delaveau. Mohammed or Sandy, you can correct me on this, but we had, when we first got the request, instead of making an emotional decision, we decided to take a step back, do the proper traffic counts, and I'll be honest, I wanted to push ahead immediately and do it, but it was Mohammed and Sandy that said, let's take a step back, not make an emotional decision, based upon the tragedy that happened. So we immediately got on that. We told the father that we would go out and look at the area. We went out and surveyed the area. They did the necessary things they needed to make sure that they can create the best scenario for this situation. So this wasn't done haphazardly or based upon an emotional response. This was based upon engineering specifics. And that's how we evolved to the decision that we're at today. So there was time that was put in. But I understand your concern, and that's exactly why we took a step back and then waited. But we immediately worked to address this concern.
Could you share the answers to those questions I just passed you out? How many cars, how much fuel, pedestrians?
Mohammed, do you have any
Have those numbers?
of that? Your study?
It's Mohammed Elahi, traffic engineer. Yeah, we did look at it. Those stop signs actually, if you go four-way stops, it'll reduce the delays. It'll go from Charlotte's Road right now is operating at level of service B. How well an intersection or a roadway is operating, we go by level of service, which A is the best, B is a little bit worse, and then F is total failure. Like pretty much you get the grades at school. So right now the way it is, level of service for Charlotte's Road is B. When you do install four-way stops, it will go up to A. So actually the pollution, the fuel, and everything else will go down, not up. And I have the numbers for peak hour, and if anybody wants for the whole day, we normally don't analyze the whole day, we go by the peak hour. I can give him the information later on.
Sure, Mr. Dillevue would like to see those, so you can get him that information. But like I said, we actually did a study instead of making an emotional decision because we wanted what's best for that situation. As you heard, this would make that stop area move up an entire grade by making these suggestions. So you'll get that information.
There's also safety because four-way stops are the safest form of intersection control. They're even safer than roundabouts. And there's two sight distance, not complete, but relatively partial sight distance problems that four-way stops will help. And one is approaching from south, approaching the intersection from south, you have a vertical sight distance problem. And another one is approaching on Charlotte's from west going east. There's a big, pretty large diameter utility pole there that's partially blocking the view. So this is gonna help the cars to begin with. It'll stop the right angle crashes. And we looked at the crashes, all the crashes we had, 90% of them were right angle crashes in that area. Somebody running the stop sign. So four-way should help it.
And did we do anything for the pedestrian stop sign?
Yes, we're gonna add stop signs for the trail. While our person was doing counting, we told him to watch the traffic too, and he occasionally noticed that some of the bicycles don't stop at all. They just run across, bike across Ainsworth Avenue without stopping. So we're gonna install stop signs on the trail for both sides, and then we're gonna paint, we call it zebra crossing or alternate bars for crossing itself. Right now there is no crossing and some advanced notice. So the main reason is to reduce traffic accidents, make it safer for the cars, but it'll have side benefits too, like improving for pedestrians.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I have one suggestion. As I understand from Sandy, you're gonna go out and study the speed approaching that intersection, in my opinion anyway. Shawless coming in that intersection 45 mile an hour and Ainsboro coming in that intersection 45 mile an hour may be a little high. Especially down Shawless where Shawless crosses or Falcon Ridge comes out on Shawless. People are really flying by there and the expectation of the drivers coming out of that new intersection, they don't realize the cars are coming down that road that fast.
Right.
Just an idea.
Look at that.
Another point that I would have on that is that Ainsboro goes 45, as Mr. Lynn just said, and then it drops off into somewhat of an unimproved road. It's not the same type of road as previously, and so I think the speed limit along with the stop sign would be the most appropriate, at least for consideration, because of the road changes when you cross that intersection.
Mr. Mayor, I'm
Yes,
curious, Mohammed, if you could just give us an idea what the numbers actually are, like in the average or the peak hours, like how many pedestrians, how many bikes, how many cars, that kind of thing?
Okay. On Charlotte's Road for PM peak, we had 202 total vehicles approaching, and we had 100 entering the intersection from both sides. And on Amesboro Avenue, we had 161. And number of bicyclists, there was 5 bicyclists, and there were 2 pedestrians during the peak hour.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Welper.
We have it, just hang on a second. I'm trying to understand the accident, and our hearts certainly go out to the Freshwater family to have a young person's life snuffed away so early. It was a real tragedy, not to mention the individual driving the car. I'm sure he would like to have that day over too, that he's going to have to live with. Looking at the intersection out there, it seems to me that the stop signs are on the wrong direction. What determines which way you put the stop signs? Chalice looks like a straight-through street, where Amesboro looks like it should be stopping. Why are the signs where they are?
This when the consultant designed that, they designed it that way, and I think they didn't expect Charles Road to increase volume like it did right now. As I mentioned, Charles Road has about 30% more traffic on it, so technically you're correct. Charles Road should be the one not stopping, and Amesboro should be stopping. However, since we do have those corner sight distance problems, and we do have red stop sign running crashes, four-way not only improve the crashes, but will also help kick the level of service from B to A.
Well, the history of people stopping at stop signs anymore has really gotten bad. Not just traffic red lights, but stop signs in themselves. And I don't see that stop signs are going to solve our problem here. I would rather try putting the stop signs in the other direction first.
I would say that Muhammad is an engineer. They've actually gone out and studied this area instead of making a quick response. I think our staff knows exactly what they're talking about and have been doing this for years. If this is going to take that stop area from a B to an A, I think that's a wise thing to do. But I mean, come on now, these folks have studied this. This is what they do.
Mr. Mayor, he just agreed with me.
He agreed that to take this from a B to an A is a 4-way stop. That's what I thought I heard him say.
I think he agreed with me that the stop signs, he too agrees, should have been reversed.
Right, but we can't go back and do that. We have an opportunity today to make it even more safe. So, Sandy?
We are also planning on putting flashing beacons on each of the stop signs all 4 ways, so they'll be able to be seen from a lot farther back.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt?
So without belaboring the recent incident, I thought the primary reason I heard that incident happen was because of that huge utility pole that's there, rather than having anything to do with the stop signs. And therefore, the individual didn't see the vehicle, whether there was a stop sign or not, because of that big pole. So I don't see this as much to do with that. But what I don't understand is, so you're saying if we put in a 4-way stop that goes from a B to an A, so why don't we put in 4-way stops everywhere, Muhammad? Because, you know, people don't come to Waterloo because University Avenue, you can't get from here to there without wasting your time, wasting your gas. And I thought we were designing roads to travel through to not stop. Now I'm hearing you saying, well, let's put 4-way stops everywhere, and that'll improve everything we're doing. This just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not an engineer. I'm certainly all about public safety. We just got done not putting in any roundabouts on University Avenue, which are proven to be safer, I think, than virtually anything when you take into account the gasoline usage and that kind of stuff from the 4-way stops. I mean, if we go back to the conversation about Ammon and Ridgeway, and is there any definite science to this, or is it just kind of what's the flavor of the week?
Yes, there's definite science for it. With traffic, there is not 2 places that is exactly the same. You have to run the analysis. The analysis package we use right now is a very old one continuously being updated, upgraded by Federal Highway Administration called Highway Capacity Software, Highway Capacity Manual. That's the one we used for this intersection. That's the data it gave us. That was the results. So you could run that software, that analysis on another intersection. It may have something else. So there aren't two intersections and two roadways that are exactly the same in traffic because people aren't the same. Drivers change, their behavior changed. The topography is not the same. The geometric design is the same. There are many, many, many factors. Even the headway between the cars, they could change from place to place. So yeah, that in this particular locations, that was the results of the analysis. Another locations may not. It doesn't mean because this location qualified for four-way stops, you gotta go out and take everything else you have out and put four-way stops there. Same thing with traffic signals or roundabouts. Roundabouts, there are places for them that they work very well, and there are places for them that does not work very well. It's not something I like or don't like. Same with the stop signs or traffic signals. It's just a form of control at intersections. So where it works well, you install any roundabout or four-way stops or signals. Where it doesn't work, you don't do that.
So are you gonna put four-way stops at Kimball?
Kimball? No, I haven't
Kimball
looked at
and Chalice?
Kimball. I've not looked at those.
Okay, I'm sure you will. Just a matter of time.
Any other questions about the science of streets and traffic control and how many cars drive? Mr. Morrissey?
Mr. Mayor, just a point of information. I mean, the discussion that has taken place in the last several minutes focuses on number 14, and we're on number 13.
Right, but I mean, it was open, so.
I understand
If you want
that.
to make comments about that, the chair says you can talk
I
about
understand
it all
that. I just
together.
wanted to make that point of information.
Anything else? Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
No.
Mr. Welper?
No.
Mr. Jacobs?
No.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
All right. Did that pass? Interesting.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
No.
Mr. Welper?
No.
Mr. Jacobs?
No.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
All right, someone take 14, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to receive, file, and consider and pass for the first time an ordinance amending the 2008 traffic code by amending section 544 all-way stop intersections by adding subsection 36, parent 36, Shawless Road and Amesboro Avenue.
Second.
That motion has been made with the second. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know how we can go on to 14 and we haven't approved 13 yet.
Great point.
13, Mr. Mayor, as I understand it, Sandy, that only changes the Amesboro as a through street, ending now at
Amesboro.
Shawless rather than the corporate city limits. That's the only thing that's doing. That has nothing to do with the four-way stop, does it?
It's listed in there as a four-way stop, but it ends at a
Sandy, could you come to the microphone?
I guess what I'm saying is, can we pass number 14 without 13?
Well, in the traffic code, it will state that it goes from Rainbow Drive to Shawless, with the exception of the traffic signals at 15 intersections and then the four-way stop.
So can you do 14?
No.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarification. 13 is not passed. 13 just succeeded at the first reading. And if the order is maintained at this, number 14 can still go ahead because it would not be passed until after 13 was passed, given the order and the way that we're having readings.
If
on this.
13 never passed, could you have 14?
If 14 passes, then we have to go back and redo 13.
So we need to wait until 13 is every reading for 13.
I don't know. I've never run into this before. I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, again, the chronological order here is going to be, unless somebody would change it and put 14 before 13, 13 is going to, if it holds true with the 4-3 vote, it will, on third reading, pass, just like if 14 follows this, it would pass after number 13 passes. Therefore, I don't see why there has to be a delay in number 14 being introduced and voted on.
Who's on first? What's on second? Dave. Sorry, sorry to bother you.
Well, I think from a practical standpoint, 14 should be removed from the agenda until 13 is passed.
So we had a motion. Did we have a second?
Mm-hmm. You
To
can
rescind
withdraw
that.
it.
So of the city clerk, from the city attorney, the idea is to wait for 14 based upon his recommendation.
You could make a motion to someone could make a motion to table it until 13 is passed.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to table number 14 until number 13 passes,
Second.
based on the advice of the city attorney.
Motion been made with the second.
And Mr. Mayor, can I just clarify one thing? Sandy, the city traffic engineer said, and you say the best solution to that intersection is four-way stop sign.
Yes, due to the study and what the software that we used, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. So there's a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, the table.
Mr. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobs?
Yes.
Mr. Morrissey?
Yes.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Lind?
Yes.
All right, that item has been
Mr. Mayor,
tabled.
point of clarification on that. If this passes if number 13 passes for the second reading next week, and then the third reading the following week, on that third reading, could, on that same evening, number 14 be on the agenda?
Kelly?
So you're asking if 14 could be on the agenda when we do the third vote for number 13?
Yes.
Well, I guess the vote you guys just took was to table 14 until 13 passes, and we won't know if 13 will pass.
But
So
it will be on there, though, right?
I suppose we could put it on pending it passing, and then if it doesn't pass, then you can't vote on it.
I'm just making that request, Mr. Mayor.
All right. 15, 16, 17.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Amos.
Number 15 is a motion authorizing additional work on East Fifth Street Parking Garage Repairs Project. Number 16 is a motion to approve change order number 2 for a net increase of $141,714 for fiscal year 2017 CIP Pipelining Phase 3A, contract number 919, and to extend completion date to December 22nd, 2017, and authorize the mayor to execute said document. Number 17 is a motion approving change order number 1 for a net increase of $16,000 for the number 6 digester roof rehabilitation project, contract number 939, extend the completion date to October 14, 2017, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document.
Second.
A motion has been made with the second. Mr. Holmbrecker, let's talk about these increases.
Steve Holmberger, Waste Management Services Director. The first one on the CIPP Phase 3, the majority of this change order is to add some additional pipe to the existing contract. That's done twofold. One, it's in an area, the intent of the whole contract is to try to keep erroneous water in bad pipe from entering the sewer system, which causes what we call a sanitary sewer overflow. We have discovered that the pipe in this area that we're proposing to be added is pipe of that nature. Kind of as an idea to give you a little better handle, there's a drainage pond, it's along Brokerage, just north of San Marnon. And when we did the televising, that pipe is excessively leaking and in bad shape. So we're recommending that we add it to this current contract because we believe we're going to get better prices than if we add it to the second. So we have two choices. One, this will get done or will be recommended to get done, whether it's this contract or the future. This was a larger contract than expected in the second one, so we think because we had good prices on this, and it makes financial sense to go ahead and move it forward with this contract. Is that?
And then number 17.
17 is we're having some repairs done to the digester roof. Unbeknownst to us that there was a seal that goes around it, and there was problems with that we didn't know when we put the original contract. And so it's recommended to get a full warranty that we have that seal replaced as well.
And probably for all of council and the community as well, if we could get a update next month with regards to where we're at with the consent decree and all those things that are going on. So if we can get an update presentation about that, that'll be well served. Yes, sir.
Jim Chapman, 224 Birch. I got a question on number 16. Is this something they found after they had the original work started, and is this additional work that's being added to correct that?
It is additional work. Part of what we were doing is this has been a long, extended process. Part of what we had to do this in 2017 was to go out and televise and do condition assessments of more sewer, and this is one of those that we did discover after we started doing that televising and felt it made sense to bring it forward at this time than to put it as far as a future project. It's also in an area where we're getting state revolving loan funding. So there's other areas we've discovered, but we can't add them to this project because it isn't part of the state revolving loan fund that will be part of a future project.
So it's additional work.
It is additional.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
It's a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion been made with the second. All in favor?
Aye.
We adjourn.